right. Thank you very much. And thank you all. And my apologies. It seems that too many upgrades to the system caused the problem. I have upgraded many things in the last week or so. Now, I am not an analyst, so you have to forgive me. I consider myself as part of the Palestine Revolution, which started way back in '65, and still an active supporter of that. Now, I'm going to go through what I consider is the current configuration of policies that the United States is implementing in the Middle East. And from this, oh, I'm sorry, next slide. And I'll talk about one big shift that we have to recognize. I start my quotation much farther back than my friend Ben Norton. Dickens, writing about the French Revolution and the change in the European order. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, and it was the age of foolishness. Now, currently we're experiencing even more turbulent times. And the decline of the US empire, its unipolar global dominance, and the roles of its allies and proxies such as Israel makes us in a very, very turbulent times. Unfortunately, West Asia in particular, which is most of my remarks will be focused on, is one of these areas which is going to have to pay a lot of prices, a lot of pain until we emerge from this phase. Palestine, including Gaza, is enduring genocide and severe sufferings in all parts of Palestine. I remain hopeful that the resurrection will emerge, and you could see the analogy here, emerge from the struggles of the Palestinian people, supported by most of humanity. And I want to emphasize that, by most of humanity. Indeed, what we have seen the last few weeks makes you feel there is hope. Now, nevertheless, and unfortunately, more wars are anticipated. Now, next, please. What is going on in West Asia is a shift in policy, at least from the US perspective, is a shift in policy from pivoting east to China to pivoting to Iran. Now, the pivoting east to China, which was the dominant porous policy formulation from about 2000, 25 years ago, till about 5 years ago, actually a little bit less, and where they started shifting to pivoting to Iran. You could see the overlapping timeline, which I will explain as we go ahead. Next, please. Now, pivoting to China meant the following things, and will continue to be an important part of this. There are 4, if you like, regions in the world. The United States, the prevailing perspective in the United States, I should say, had the Monroe Doctrine for Latin America, and they thought, at least until 2000, actually through 2010, that with the hegemony of the superpower in the beginning of 1990, the Monroe Doctrine is back in effect across all of Latin America. And the Western hegemony on Africa was on the same thing. It was the Western Europeans plus the United States. There is one fault line, and the fault line is east of Europe down to the east of the Mediterranean. That fault line, because they were security commitments of the United States. So we had the formulation of NATO expansion, EU expansion, and the colored revolutions to try the dominant view since the 1990s was that we should bring down Russia and break it down into smaller countries and have the natural resources because that is important for facing up to China. In the Middle East, there was a formulation which lasted 25 years also, and that was that the Arab Spring Sunni alliance plus Israeli security leading this alliance was sufficient to stop Iran and stop the expansion of China and Russia. Next, please. Hence, sorry, I should say, hence the policy to pivot to China. The policy to pivot China meant, and this is really big because quite a bit of the policies of the United States over the last 25 years meant three things: prepare for war with China, inhibit technological progress, and compete commercially with China. All of these were put into effect. Now there is a prevailing perspective which led to the shift in policy, which is that preparing for war can happen and is still happening, particularly around Taiwan and around the alliance between Australia and India and Japan. Which now more or less is frozen or collapsed. Inhibiting technological progress is the area where the United States was almost totally defeated, and that really explains the madness of Mr. Trump. Competing commercially also didn't prove to be a very successful policy. All of these three policies are still in effect in Washington. However, realizing that with the changes in terms of particularly the technological progress and preparation for war, the shift happened. Next, please. Now, in order to shift east, the United States had to do three things, and it did them, and it didn't fully succeed. The first one is lowering US commitment in Europe and moving east. The second one is lowering US security commitments in West Asia and moving east. Now, in order for that to work, the policies, the so-called Abraham Accords and so on, had to really succeed. And that is really the fundamentals. Now, the United States did start what was called euphemistically an Arab NATO, involving Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. There were some issues between Turkey and Egypt, and there were issues also between Turkey and Saudi Arabia. But the United States was extremely optimistic on that. Of course, the major battles were fought in Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria. And that is the shift that was taking place in this. But the Abraham Accord did not succeed, and hence we came to the new situation. Next slide, please. Now, I believe that U.S. started a policy called pivot to Iran. Now, the United States, we all know that the United States and Iran had a lot of issues over the nuclear accords, over sanctions, and so on. And by and large, it was following an Israeli line. But there was a growing concerns that those measures, i.e. particularly sanctions, did not really succeed, succeeded internationally, did not succeed inside Iran. And that's really the important thing, i.e., Iran was able to continue its socioeconomic development, is able to build alliances with Russia and with China, build a good relationship with Pakistan, and so on. So inside Iran, and the purpose of that policy was to bring down the government, clearly, is that economically, if you collapse, now. So there was a huge debate on what to do about Iran. Up to 2016, what to do about Iran was clear because the US military was very clear. We cannot do a land invasion of Iran. And all through even the presidency of President Bush, the last president we had, I forgot him because he forgot me, all of that, the U.S. military was very solid. We cannot do it in the sense of land invasion to bring down the government. Came the Israeli formulation, but we can do it through other means. The US was hesitant until Trump took over power from Biden. Now, and that is really the beginning of the shift to the pivot to Iran. Next one, please. Now, several factors led to that shift. I will go through them very quickly. The first one is the Ukraine war and the defeat of NATO.
Yeah, sorry, just Sami, you're already at about 12 minutes. So, yeah.
Only?
You are already at about 12 minutes. So,
okay,
yeah, sorry about that.
Well, there are a number of...
Finish your slides. I'm just saying maybe hurry up a bit.
Okay, now, Ukraine war and the defeat of NATO is critical for US formulation, and we know what the results are. The US extracted itself from direct funding of Ukraine, but not from the weapons or from working with the Europeans against that. And this war will continue until it burns out, which is in the horizon. The second thing is the rise of China in the 25 years, which meant a shift in several areas of competition, not only the commercial, but also energy. China moved in 20 years from a second power in the late 1990s to a major power, and then to the preeminent economic power by 2017. But the energy needs of China also increased. At this point, China imports more than 50% of its oil and gas, both. I made the calculations based on both, based on this year and based also on the reserve. And more than 50% is dependent on GCC, Iran, and Iraq. Keep that in mind, and keep that in the Hermes. In other words, more than 50% today. They're opening land, they're opening trains to shift it, but it will take time. Now, and that is definitely attracted Washington attention, because if they can control the whole GCC plus Iran, and Iran shifting, then they could do it. Also, security pathways from east to west, the road initiative, and north to south, the Russian-Indian initiative. Then, of course, they are controlling the core of BRICS. Now, on the other side, the US is sinking in debt. This year, we are expected to cross the $40 trillion. And there's no other solution, of course. Trump is tantruming with the tariffs, is tantruming with taking over Canada, or taking over the Panama Canal, or taking over the airbase in Afghanistan. The issue is you can only solve the debt question is if you have a differential. And the determination in Washington, the differential is energy, i.e., if we control GCC plus Iran plus Iraq and South America, then we can A, control the flow of that energy, and B, the profit of that energy. That's the determination why these things are happening for Washington. Finally, and I will, out of respect, will stop. Meanwhile, resistance in West Asia has been increasing over the years, and therefore the framework of the Abraham Accords was not working because there was massive resistance, both military as well as popular. And last but not least, of course, is October 7 and the start of the Gaza war, which all of that combined shifted the United States. Next, and I'll try to finish. Next, please. Okay. Now, I just want to mention the Iran war, the 12-day war, was an attempt to destabilize Iran. It's a regime change operation. Okay. Now, we can talk with details about the operation, who won, who lost, who got hit, and so on. The point, the strategic point for Washington, it failed. Iran is stronger internally politically because this was an unmitigated foreign attack. Two, it failed because Iran did prove to have the stamina to withstand that. There's a lot of debate on these points, but the only thing I could say is the United States wants to go back to Iran. Not only China, not only Israel. Israel will do what Washington says. So the conclusion is the path to China is to subdue Iran and secure the energy resources of West Asia and disrupt BRICS. Next, please. I will go through the details, but I need more time. Go ahead, please. Next. In here, I just want to summarize where we are and what is coming next. Obviously, in the top, you see the three scenarios. And scenario number one is what Israel has been fighting for the last 2 years, which is defeat Hamas, disarm it, take over Gaza, depopulated, make it the Southern Riviera. That's basically the summary of this whole genocidal war. Now, on the right-hand side, of course, is a victory to the resistant forces. In between, there is some negotiated parts. The red line and the called A is where the Trump proposal is. All right. The struggles is to go to line B. I just make a few predictions and I'm stop, and I apologize deeply for that. Okay, likely development in the next few months, 90% war with Iran, in my view, and to finish the job, so to speak. Even after Trump's thing. Actually, Trump's thing is related to that, which we can talk about later. Now, relative failure of Israel in Gaza after even more genocide and destruction. So don't consider this is a truce. 2-3 months truce, there will be war and there will be a resumption of war. And again, 50% chance of a possible war in South America. I should mention about South America, the reason I lowered the probability of that is because of the position taken by China in support of Venezuela. And so the Americans now have to calculate whether China and Russia are going to be part of that or not.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.